And the band played on. House Democrats are going to move forward with plans to impeach Justice Brett Kavanaugh, even after the New York Times has discredited their own story. So what's this really all about? Well, despite the fact that I covered this topic yesterday, we get to do it again. Why? Because Democrats are absolutely relentless. Now, Tucker Carlson surmised last night in his monologue that the reason they're so relentless about this is that when they're not in power, when they're not in control, they just absolutely will do anything, say anything to get themselves back into control. Now, there's some truth to that. And he is right. They are trying to now pack the system, either add more justices to ensure their liberal idiocy and ideology. Why? Because it does not win at the ballot box. Normal, sane people are not going to vote for the leftist agenda. I know we got this clown show going on right now called the Democratic primary. And I know we've got AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and the squad out there talking about all of their socially leftist ideas and their outright hatred of America and our Constitution and the way we've done everything, and it all needs to be scrapped, and we need to redo it, and we need to start all over, and people of color need to be the ones deciding all of this because they were excluded in the first Constitution, and you know all of this ad nauseum. And even though there's a few of us that still believe there's enough rational, reasoned Americans left who can still think, this will probably not pass, be voted on, and acted on in this election cycle. That doesn't mean it's going to go away. And as they continue to control our schools, and don't miss this, control our courts, they will continue to further their agenda. And eventually, they will have dumbed down our students in our school system so much that this idiocy will pass at the ballot box. But until then, they keep stirring this up. But there's more to it than that. And even though Tucker is on the right trail, he's missing the glaring and the obvious. And that is this. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is about to keel over at any moment. In fact, I really believe she died about a year ago. Her body just hasn't figured that out yet. And when she goes, the Democrats are going to hew and howl that Donald Trump does not have the right, he does not have the standing, he does not have the authority, he does not have the power to nominate another justice to the Supreme Court during an election cycle like this. So what they have to do is they've got to remind you of how much they hate Brett Kavanaugh. Now, Rush Limbaugh theorizes that this is about continuing to try to intimidate Kavanaugh, to keep him voting kind of on the liberal side because he has disappointed us in a vote or two. But, you know, after a while, that doesn't work. People get tired of being blackmailed and intimidated, and they get angry and they lose it. And so I don't think that their strategy is about trying to intimidate Kavanaugh into continuing to vote liberal, because eventually what he's going to do is he's going to come out and really go hard right. So if that's their thinking, that's a foolish plan. Now here's what I think it is, and I'm going to have to tell you I'm more right on this than Limbaugh, and I'm farther down the thought train on this than Tucker Carlson. What this is all about. They are trying to prep the American people and not allowing Donald Trump to have another Supreme Court pick, especially before the 2020 election. This is why they're giving Ruth Bader Ginsburg, oxygen and life support and, cortisone shots by the hour. I don't know if any of that's true, but they're doing whatever they have to do to keep this walking fossil alive. And they're just so scared, and obviously insider baseball is that she's not good. Otherwise, why keep beating this Kavanaugh drum? And especially on the 1-year anniversary. They want to convince you that this guy is absolutely a vile, reprehensible human being.
I've never heard of a guy who's a one-time rapist. I've never heard of a guy who's a one-time sexual assaulter. I grew up with guys like this. He's from around this area, right? He's the fifth guy in a gang rape, okay? He's the guy who comes in after he's drunk because everybody else encourages him. He can get away with it. And he's been pretty much covered his entire life. It has amazed me that we have an administration that out of the millions of people who are qualified in this country of all races and genders, they consistently find men who beat, abuse, and sexually assault women.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize Bill Clinton was a Republican. I guess I missed where Harvey Weinstein is a Republican. I missed where Epstein is a Republican. I missed where Anthony Weiner is a Republican. All of these deviant behavior that you're talking about, and gang rape and incest and pedophilia, all of this hogwash, crapola, perversion lifestyle that you're talking about, that happens on the left side. See, they're the ones that have a zero moral compass. Everything's okay. That's what we were told was the bastion of liberalism and free love. There was no sin. There was no wrong and right. Everything is okay if that's what makes you feel good. Then all of a sudden came the Me Too movement. And oops, we're not allowed to feel that good. And so all of this reprehensible behavior was on the part of liberal men who feigned this love of liberal feminism because it got them closer to the chicks. And that's really what this really revealed. And their deviant, open, whatever goes lifestyle got them closer to females within their own party. And now the party is over. But they want to, again, and this is what Democrats are famous for, they want to rewrite history. Like they've tried to rewrite the entire civil rights, which began with a Republican, a president by the name of Abraham Lincoln. He freed the slaves. Remember, it was the Democrats, the Confederate Democrats, who left the Union over that issue. Remember, it was the Democrats from the South that when Reconstruction was in process and they were brought back into Congress, they fought to keep segregation in place, even through the 1960s. Lyndon Johnson did not get the Civil Rights Act passed because the Democrats came to his aid. No, nay. He got it passed because the Republicans voted with him. The Republicans are what pushed civil rights across the finish line. And yet somehow we have allowed Democrats to rewrite history and make it sound like they have been the ones out there championing the equal rights and making sure that black Americans were treated as equals. And nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing. The entire Dixiecrat establishment, right down to Little League Baseball, pulled Little League out of the South and created Dixie Youth Baseball because they didn't want white kids and black kids playing baseball together. It was the Democrats that created the Ku Klux Klan to protect their way of life in the South. And yet, they have successfully rewritten history to portray the Republicans as the bigots and the racists, and they are the ones that are truly setting the black man free, when what they're really doing is putting black people on a brand new modern plantation. A plantation of you're too stupid and lazy to know how to take care of yourself. So we're going to give you government housing, government food, government health care, government education, free, and we'll even throw in an Obama phone, and there. All we need you to do is come out every 4 years and vote for us. And you want to know how well this works? Just look at inner city America that's under Democratic administrations and hellholes and sewers in places like Baltimore and Los Angeles, and you'll know exactly what the black American experience would be under a full-blown, full-fledged Democratic administration running every aspect of the country. What's happened under that no-good orange man, Donald Trump? Why, the lowest unemployment rate ever for ethnic Americans in this country. Lowest unemployment ever for minorities. Highest wage increases ever for minorities. Who's really the bigot But yet, again, in attempting to rewrite history, they're talking about how vile Brett Kavanaugh is, when it's truly the vile, deviant sexual behavior that comes from the left. But that's not stopping these presidential hopefuls in calling for the outright impeachment of Brett Kavanaugh without a shred of evidence.
Become clear is that he should be impeached. The House absolutely has the ability to impeach him.
And do you believe then that he is essentially a sexual predator, or that he was at some point?
Yeah, I believe that he engaged in the conduct that was described.
And given the fact that it appears as though Brett Kavanaugh lied under oath, which is a crime, I think that he has disqualified himself for service on the Supreme Court. And he should step down, or he should be impeached.
Beto the phony Latino, honestly. He's already said, hell yes, we're coming for your guns. We're just going to throw out, the Second Amendment. We're going to throw out that whole Constitution, because, again, it was written by a bunch of old white guys. And no, that's best for you. Remember how much the liberals love to talk against the so-called fascist man, Donald Trump? The real fascists are the liberals. The real fascists are the progressives. The AOCs and that ilk, and the people that defend them on the left and in the mainstream lying legacy corporate corrupt media, and even in the alternative leftist media, they're the fascists. They're the ones that want that government control of everything. So now here they are, trashing Brett Kavanaugh, and again, this all got started because a book released by a New York Times reporter talking about yet another victim who Brett Kavanaugh was naked and he showed himself to me. And we find out that the information came third hand, and when they finally tracked the woman down, she doesn't remember the incident. Other people who were her friends at the party don't remember the incident. Christine Ford, she was, so traumatized, even though she could get on planes and fly all over the world to, engage in her hobbies and her lifestyle. She just so scared about Brett Kavanaugh, yet she couldn't remember a single address where any of the parties happened, or, had no corroborating evidence and had to call up friends and said, do you remember when he tried to rape me? And they were all like, no, we don't remember that. These insane lunatics get held up as these bastions of truth and integrity. They're liars, unmitigated liars, committed to the cause, and that cause is protecting liberalism. In particular, when it comes to the judiciary, and are protecting their ability to have abortion, murder on demand, through the Supreme Court decision on Roe v. Wade. And we can't have a Brett Kavanaugh, we can't have a Donald Trump picking justices that might actually support the Constitution. Therefore, due process, presumption of innocent, that needs to be damned, that needs to just be done away with, because after all, a guy like Brett Kavanaugh doesn't deserve due process.
There's no presumption of innocence or guilt when you have a nominee before you.
We have a constitutional duty to get to the bottom of these allegations. Judge Brett Kavanaugh has a responsibility to come forward with evidence to rebut them.
Kavanaugh, who is seeking a lifetime appointment to the Supreme Court, and who I think now bears the burden of disproving these allegations, rather than Dr. Ford and Ms. Ramirez.
To those who I hear say over and over, this isn't fair to Judge Kavanaugh. He's entitled to due process. What about the presumption of innocence until proven guilty? He's not entitled to those because we're not actually seeking to convict him.
And there you have it, in their own words, from Chuck E. Cheese Schumer to Kirsten Gillibrand. What if that was you? What if that was your son? What if that was somebody that you know, that they decided that there was some special set of circumstances now, therefore due process doesn't count, not needed. We're not trying to convict him. No, you're trying to destroy him. You're trying to destroy his family. And you're trying to destroy the president from being able to execute his constitutional given authority to choose Supreme Court justices. That's why they're going hot and heavy after Brett Kavanaugh again. They really don't have the grounds to impeach him. But that doesn't matter. Ruth Bader is about to keel over. And the thought of Donald Trump having yet another pick absolutely terrifies them. And should he win re-election, he's probably in line for 2 more picks. And that really terrifies them. Well, that's it for this edition of the Afternoon Drive here on YouTube. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and a like. Share this video to your social media platforms. If you're a brand new subscriber, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. And by the way, I am pleased to announce, I have a book, and it will be out. And I hope that you will take advantage and purchase that book. And a little rant I did over the weekend is really giving seed thought to a new book that is coming. And I'll talk about that more in the coming weeks ahead. That said, hey, make sure if you're a subscriber, you have smacked the bell for my next rant.